Thank you for listening to the Business Sphere. Don't forget to share this episode and subscribe. My guest today is serial entrepreneur, author, and speaker, Carl Gould. He built 3 multi-million-dollar businesses by the age of 40. And his company, 7 Stage Advisors, helps businesses grow to the next level. Thanks for joining me today, Carl.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So I'm excited and honored to have you as a guest on this episode today. But for all the listeners that don't know who you are, Carl, if you don't mind sharing with them how you became who you are and what's your superpower today.
Well, thank you. Well, I got into entrepreneurship very much by accident, literally, I should say by injury. I was going to school for accounting and finance, and I had a pretty bad leg injury in my second year of school, and I had to leave school. And so there I was. My leg was in a cast for 3 months, and then I had to go through months of physical therapy, really years, but intense for those few months to learn how to use my leg again. And all of my student loans came due, my grants and scholarships went away. And before you know it, I'm broke with a broken leg sitting at home. And I'm like, I got to make some money. So I knew how to do a couple of things. I don't know how good I knew how to do them, but I knew how to do them. And so I started a landscaping company. I had a design build landscape firm, and I grew that business for 7 years, sold it. Then I started a construction company, a home building and real estate development company. And I had that business till 2004, but I started coaching in 1990. So I went to a personal development seminar, really loved it. I dove into NLP and DISC and all these peak performance sciences. And I also got certified by Tony Robbins and Stephen Covey and Ken Blanchard and Dale Carnegie, the Adizes methodology, you name it. If there was a certification out there, I got it. And so all through the 90s, if there was such a thing as a side hustle, at the time, we didn't say it then, but my side hustle was coaching. So there I was doing life and intervention and results coaching for business people, for individuals, you name it. And I hired a business coach, a mentor for my business in 1996. And I really loved it. I enjoyed it. And I said, wow, I want to do this going forward. And so what I did was I combined my entrepreneurship journey with coaching. And in 2002, I launched the business that I have today, which is 7 Stage Advisors. So I went from a guy who grew up in New Jersey and, worked local businesses, service businesses, to I'm still a guy from New Jersey who now travels the world, and I work with businesses all around the world doing coaching and mentoring and training.
That's such a fun journey, to say the least. And I do have some curious questions, because back before you even became a business person in your second year of university, did you have that, I guess, upbringing where your parents distilled some values of hard work or service type kind of? Did you have coaches and mentors early days to get you equipped mentally in terms of mindset to even have the foresight to take on that next leap of faith of business entrepreneurship in your second year?
Yeah, well, I came from I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. I'm one of 10 kids. I'm the 5th of 10 in my family. And there were a lot of entrepreneurs in my family. We're very much a bunch of go-getters. And yeah, so I grew up in an environment where you either got a job or you made up your job, and so, but very much a very hardworking family. I mean, our the work ethic was there. There was no shortage of that. But also at the same time, when you're one of a large family, you've got to assert yourself for the things that you want. There's 10 hungry mouths on the table, and there's one bowl of pasta. You don't reach in, then you're not eating that, there. So, you've got to ask for what you want. And that's what I learned from that experience, is that if I go get it, if I hustle, if I bring value, it's going to work out. And it did for me. So, And that was one of the very early lessons that I learned as an entrepreneur was, this is a hustle game. I can hustle my way to, a $5-10 million business. And as long as I'm the one getting there first or doing the little bit extra, then I very much am going to be the one that wins that job.
That's amazing to hear. So if you don't mind sharing, I know your first foray of business ownership, which is that landscaping business. No, not landscaping. Was it landscaping that you?
Yeah, landscape was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, first one that, after a couple of years you sold it. How did you go about discovering that it was an opportunity? Did you have friends and family? Did you see a wanted ad, or did you kind of just put some flyers together saying, I have a truck, I can go out and buy raw materials and do the work? And did you then hire service people to do it, or were you the one doing the work yourself?
Well, I was definitely doing the work myself in the beginning, for sure. I put the word out that I had a landscaping company and that I was open to be hired. And the very first couple of projects I did were referrals from family members. I remember my two younger brothers each had friends whose families needed a project done, so they referred me. And then, the way it works in construction, think about a home that you've just done work for, and the expression is 9 around. The 9 houses that surround that house. So 2 on either side, 5 on the other side of the street. You do a job for one person, and then you mark it to the 9 around. That's the process then. So yeah, when people would see me doing a project and they'd come out and say, wow, I didn't know you did that sort of work. Can you do that for me? Can you do that for me? And before you knew it, I was, there's always has been, there always is, there always will be the need for people to do work, home services. It's always hard to find somebody who could do the job. So, and so I didn't, instead of just saying, oh, wait, no, sir, ma'am, I can't talk to you, I'm working on this project, I would say, I'll be there as soon as I'm done today. I'd go there, write up an estimate on the spot. And they're like, well, we're thinking of, I'm like, that's fine. You can think all you want, but I'm going out and I'm giving 10 estimates a week. If you want it done, I could do it. I could do it Monday. Wow, you could do it Monday? Monday. So I would be, well, we were thinking of getting a couple of other estimates. I'm like, all right, go ahead. But understand that my production schedule is going to fill, so will theirs. So if you want, I'll come back Monday to talk, or I can come back Monday and have this thing done by Wednesday. And, you could tell they were kind of like, all right, let's go, And I just found that by hustling, that's the way it went. So I started out with referrals, but I jumped on every single opportunity. No matter how far. I drove to Connecticut. I drove to New York. I went down, 2 hours south. I did every project, and everywhere I did a project, there was always a neighbor from the 9 around who wanted something, and so that's the way I got things started.
That's amazing to hear, because not only do you have that foresight of hard work and, hustling for the sale, right? Because it's all about making that urgency happen and delivering that supply demand, like a scarcity effect, right? Where people need to know that you can do good work, you're there, and they can wait, but you may have to wait 3 months down the line, right? So it's all about that urgency effect. So learning that early days, and then after many years, did you then provide hire people, build systems, create more processes, crews, so you were able to scale to a point where then you were more sellable as a business?
Yeah, so we use subcontractors. We hired a team, and so as quickly as I could. I didn't do it as much in my landscaping business as I did in my construction company. It's probably one of my mistakes, was I did too much of the work in the landscaping business, and it just caught up with me. It was exhausting. I mean, I was doing well, and the business actually doubled every single year until I sold it. But boy, I put in a lot of effort and energy, and so that it catches up to you after a while physically. And it did with me too. So I didn't take the delegation lesson well enough at the time. But I did that. I learned that lesson better when I did my construction companies.
Yes, but you were able to figure it out, right? So eventually, your time is scarce. Energy is what you have in store, and you'd rather utilize it for working on your business rather in it. And it took time to figure that out. Was there a time in that first foray of your business that gave you that kind of mental picture of, I can grow so much faster if I wasn't doing the work and if I were to delegate more? Or was that more the suck-in construction business that you had?
Well, it was more in the construction business. But one of the things that it was kind of the aha, it was obvious, but it's like the obvious aha was, when I'm building a house, I need a licensed electrician. I'm not a licensed electrician. I need a licensed plumber, HVAC contractor, roofing contractor. These are all things that I wasn't licensed to do, or I didn't know how to do. So I hired an electrician. And I remember going to the job one day, pulling up, getting the guys all set up. Here are the plans. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. Here's the owner if they come by. Here are the parameters of the job. And then after 45 minutes, I'm like, I can go. I can leave, right? And they had it because they're pros. And then later on in the job, I had 2 or 3 contractors on the job site. And I had to organize them like, hey, you're phase 1, you're phase 2. You have to work together on this particular part. But I realized that the more I bought in the other trades and I just made sure that they had the space and the area to work and operate, that, I could be doing multiple things at the same time on one project. Then I noticed, well, wait a minute, if I have more than one house in this subdivision, I can have multiple contractors on multiple sites. So then it started becoming exponential. And then when I had the electrician on one job, I would say, hey, listen, I've got 2 other jobs for you, and then it got to the point where what I would do is I would meet with my subcontractors at the beginning of the year. And I would say, I've got this many houses. I've got this many renovation projects. I've got this many additions. I would say to them, I've got 15 projects I'm going to award to you. Give me a price as if you're doing all 15, not that you're doing one at a time. And I'll just lay out the schedule for the year and I'll give you an idea when these are going to happen. This is Q1, this is Q2, this is Q3, this is Q4. Just know, and here are the addresses. Here's where I'm going to be. So you can kind of plan yourself out, materials wise and everything else. So give me the price now, what this stuff's going to cost for me this year, reasonably. If I ask for something new, obviously there's a change order. But we had this great relationship where they all kind of knew what I was working on at the beginning of the year.
And that's amazing that you're able to do this with subcontractors and trades, but people think about it as products, right? When you're able to go to a supplier or a manufacturer and ask for a volume discount, you're doing the exact same thing on trades, and you're asking and planning as opposed to paying for someone inside your own company. And maybe that is a different stage of your business as well, like hiring in-house staff so that you can actually get them to do a lot more volume and different projects, but also comes with a lot more responsibility, liability, and all the bonded insured stuff, right?
Sure.
But people want that freedom of choice, right? With subcontracts, they're independent contractors, but if you give them more security with X amount of jobs, and they plan it out and there's a guaranteed income, they're much more willing to work with you because you're one of the most loyal type businesses that they can rely on in terms of that steady paycheck, right? So
right on.
Coming from that world, and because for myself, for all the listeners, I used to work at Yellow Pages, and I only dealt with small, medium-sized businesses in trades, from everything healthcare to every type of industry. So I get to meet business owners like yourself, and it was fun, right? Talking to them, engaging, and being ultra curious, because I was not a business owner. I was just a sales rep. But they were really talking about themselves, right? And business owners love talking about themselves. So
their favorite subject.
So I love just asking because I wasn't a business owner yet, right? So what did you learn after selling, or do you still currently have that home renovation business? And then moving to the coaching, mentoring business that you currently have?
Yeah, so I don't still have either of those construction or home improvement businesses, but what I do still do projects for myself now and again. I still invest in real estate, and I still have I still will do projects now and again for investment purposes. But yeah, I mean, I was doing this mostly for myself in the beginning, but it's more of an investment line for me now.
And which is, it's moving from at different stages of life, right? So you're a business owner, you're able to grow, liquidate, or sell, get some profit or get some equity in there. And then now you're utilizing your money to invest, right? But a lot of business owners that's their sole reliant income stream, right? So now you're a diversified investor, I would say.
I am more diversified now. So I've a good friend of mine taught me, invest your money in business, in paper assets like insurance and stocks and bonds and mutual funds and retirement plans, and also in real estate. So have a little bit of all three. And so that's what I do.
Amazing. So let's go on to your next phase. I know it's been about 20 years of growing your own 7-stage advisors business. So I know you were doing all these coaching and courses and learning from all the Dale Carnegies and whatnot. So when did you decide to start that, and how was the ramp up, and how is it going for you?
Well, in the very beginning, in the early 90s, there was no coaching industry the way it is now. I mean, there was obviously an industry, but nothing like it is now. And so I was just the certified coach, or I attached myself to the intellectual property of other experts because I was brand new in the field. And so I learned, the 6 human needs and human needs psychology from Tony Robbins. I got certified in DISC and NLP, situational leadership by Ken Blanchard, Dale Carnegie leadership, the Adizes methodology, Franklin Covey, all those. I learned those tools, and I was if you wanted to, have coaching in those areas, then I was your guy. And so I would either do it on my own, or I would do it through their company and be the referred coach, or go to their seminars and coach their attendees. And so I did that all through the 90s. And I probably did a few thousand hours of coaching. And it was just a coaching practice. I just did it on my own. But I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. And what turned out to be a smart move now was, because of the exposure I got, was in the beginning, what I did was, since I had a 9-to-5 business, I told these companies, I'll coach anybody that you have from Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Europe, Middle East, because they were time zone friendly. I said, I'll take all your international clients, because I could get up a little early in the morning to coach the European and South African group or Middle Eastern group. Starting in the afternoon, that was the next day in Australia. And then after a while, I took the West Coast of the United States, because, their afternoon was my evening. And I took on East Coast clients last. So I built this entire international kind of clientele in the beginning and presence. And that's really served me well over my career. It was a move out of necessity at the time, but it was just, it really helped me out going forward. So it was all by, I was just a single practitioner during the 90s. And then I got certified, or accredited, I should say, by the Institute for Independent Business. And their model is that you are a team when you go to coach and advise and mentor a client. And so I very much fell in love with the team concept. And I love the idea that multiple experts work on the same client. So then I expanded 7-stage advisors to include the team concept.
Amazing. And I love you explaining that you spent all these hours learning, all these hours,
thousands,
before and after. And this is where the hustle kind of mindset has always been ingrained. And it just doesn't actually happen by accident. You're born with it. Like, you've been doing it, not even knowing that you were doing it, probably in your 20s and before then. And eventually the reward starts happening later in life, not realizing, because these habits have been formed, right? And maybe in your 30s and 40s, you've already been doing it for so many years that it's just natural, right? And then you were able to afford the time during your, I guess, second business, the building real estate one, where you're able to then delegate and have more time and freedom to do this coaching and business mentoring one. It allowed you to really understand what you really wanted to do. And throughout the stages, it seemed like you kind of uncovered what was your true passion and goal. When was that kind of realization? Because you were a business owner, small, medium-sized service-based business owner, to then becoming this coaching business that's global. Like, was there a time that kind of triggered you to say, this is what I want to do for the next 5, 10 rest of my life?
Yeah, it was, I have to give credit to one of my early mentors, a guy by the name of Eric Lehman. I met him when I had my construction company, and we worked together for, I think it was 5 years. And going through his business mentoring process made me really want to do business coaching as a business, as a full-time business. And just going through it and realizing how much I got out of it and how much I enjoyed doing it. And I could see how much he enjoyed it too. That whole process to me, I was like, because I said to him one day, I'm like, I want to do what you do. And he says, well, I'll introduce you to the Institute for Independent Business because that's the group that accredited me, and they're looking to grow and the whole bit. And I think you'd be a good fit and all that. And so that was really what made me want to do this as a full-time business. And my challenge was at the time, still to this day, I mean, coaches don't usually make that much money. I mean, at the time, the average coach made like $20,000 a year. I think the average full-time coach now makes like $80,000, which is a lot of money. But if you live in New Jersey and you have a family and you want to own a house, it's not enough, unfortunately. And so I had to find a way to make this a full-time business where I could invoice 6 figures so I could be the primary provider in my family,
So it took time to build, right? Your, I guess, scaling to a point where then it becomes 6-figure and you have people to support your business endeavors, right? When did you start hiring new people, and when did things start taking off? Because I know you were doing it on the side, but you're also dropping your name to all these organizations and people to do the word of mouth referrals. Was there a time and moment where it was like, wow, I can start saying that if I left my business and career and do this full time, I will replace that income because I know it will support me?
Yeah, so I started in 2002, and I started with the team concept right out of the gate. And I started involving other advisors, because during the 90s, I would be coaching somebody and they would say, hey, Carl, do you know a sales trainer? Or do you know somebody who knows marketing? Or do you know somebody who's good at HR? Do you know somebody who's good at finance? And I was getting the requests over and over again. And I said, yeah, why do I keep sending this away? Yeah, I know these people. I know them in my coaching circle. So I went to them and I said, hey, I need a finance expert. You up for it? I need an HR expert. You up for it? I need an ops expert. You up for it? And so now I walk in and I'm like, oh, you got to meet the team. They're unbelievable. And I sell the team.
So eventually you brought them in-house, or are they more subcontractors getting a referral fee kind of business?
Subcontractors.
Okay.
Because, most people get into the coaching business for lifestyle reasons.
Yes.
It's not because they want another job. They want the freedom and the flexibility. And so it worked better to allow them to remain as independent, because they all have their own businesses. So they don't work. None of them are full-time with me. They all do their own thing. And then we just collaborate on projects.
Amazing. So out of the last, say, 20 years doing this coaching business, I would imagine you've been traveling all over the world, meeting clients. What do you enjoy the most? And or a couple of things that you really enjoy, and what don't you enjoy doing in your business?
Meaning in the coaching business?
Yes, in the coaching business.
Well, I like the part of travel I like is I like seeing new parts of the world and new cultures and how people do things. And it's exciting to see the way they approach problems. I don't like the actual travel. You know, people are like,
Right.
wow, you went to so-and-so. I'm like, listen, the glamour of travel went away 20 minutes after Wheels Up. Then it was just sitting like this for 5 hours. There's nothing exciting about that. So I do not enjoy the time away from family. I don't enjoy, I mean, I really like where we live. I'm an outdoor person. I like to be outside a lot. So this big, you know, one of the things I loved about construction was I was outside every day. Right now I'm inside, you know, 10 hours a day. So these are some of the trade-offs. And so those are some of the things I don't enjoy. You know, and I don't enjoy when we can't get a client to, you know, do the things that they want to do or need to do in their business. So those are some of the disappointments. And we as a team take that on personally, like, okay, what did we do? How did we fail the client that they did not do that work? But those are some of the things. I mean, I have a team that does like the back of the house work, like, you know, the finances and the cash flow management and, you know, all the administration. I don't enjoy doing that, but I don't have to do it. So I wouldn't put that on the list necessarily. And I get to focus on the parts of the business that I like the most, which is teaching and coaching and guiding and training.
Especially your expertise, right? With all the training that you've had, as well as all the type of businesses and people that you've been able to support and help throughout your lifetime as well. So where are you right now in your business, in your career, in your life? Because it seems like we've gotten from business ownership to, you know, the service-based trades to then starting this coaching and mentoring, having this team to support you in your lifestyle. Do you see yourself continuing this for the next 5, 10, 20 years? Or do you see the next iteration of where you want to be in the next future?
Well, you know, someone said to me that, Carl, you've got the business everyone wants when they retire. I get to write books, I get to speak, I get to coach and help others, you know? And so I'm like, wow, yeah. I said, I just got into it in my 30s as opposed to in my 50s or 60s. And so I see myself continuing to do what I'm doing now. What I would say that I would do more of is I'd probably I have another book coming out later this year. So I'll write more books. I'll speak more. And one of the things that I started early in my career was I certified and trained or accredited in one way, shape, or form, you know, over 7,000 business coaches worldwide. And I'd like to get back to that. And the reason why I want to do that late in my career is, you know, I know how many people want to do this work. And I got into it because I was so excited that I got to do the job and the work I love. And people used to come to me to have me teach them how to do it. I want to get back to that and do that more.
Amazing. And I think that's so important, right? Like follow what you enjoy doing. A lot of people follow it for the wrong reasons, right? Which is financial, or they're chasing comparing to others, or they see what other people are doing, but they don't really understand what's behind the scenes and what needs to be done in terms of legwork, right? Like you mentioned, you put in the time, you put in the hard work, you put in the sweat equity hours in everything you've done to get to where you are. Right. So for all the listeners, like, is there anything that you regret that you could have done differently? If there's things that you know, can change, what would you have changed?
Well, from a professional standpoint, I probably would have set up my retirement earlier. I'm in my 50s now. I've done that, but I probably should have done it earlier. I wish I would have done that because I had time on my side and it would have, you know, would have been more, it would have set me up earlier in my life. But in my business, I wish I thought bigger earlier. You know, I think big now. I think big. And then I meet somebody, I'm like, wow, they think big. You know? They think big too. I'm like, well, I don't think so big, you know? So I might have thought bigger earlier, and I would have partnered up, and I would have leveraged, I would have learned the power of leverage and finance earlier, meaning borrowing money and scaling through other people's money. I built most of my businesses grassroots. I bootstrapped it, and and I borrowed money only when needed rather than using it as a tool. So I likely would have revisited that. I do that now. And I probably would have, started writing earlier and more often. So those are the things. I'm doing that now, but I look back and I'm like, should have done that a little earlier.
But then you also look at, you didn't have time, or you're at a different stage of your life, right?
Yeah.
So giving your time to reflect and have more wisdom, right? But also, you also mentioned you have a family, and spending time with your family is important. And even yourself, like you're also taking care of yourself. You're much more healthier, I would imagine, because you have more time, because you've set yourself up for this part of your life, right?
Very true. That's very true.
So looking back, I look and, I'm amazed by your success, but I know it's hard work to get there. And for all the listeners that are wanting to become a coach, or is a coach and frustrated because they've been spending a couple of years and not at 80K a year yet, and that's the average, it takes time. It's not an overnight success. And it's the grind, it's the hours. You got to learn, you got to keep making mistakes. You got to keep putting in the time and effort, because it's not easy to run a business, to learn everything and know everything. And yes, that also means you got to network, you got to learn to sell, you got to learn to do the work, you got to learn a lot of skill sets. And that's a part of the business mindset, the business journey, that we are all in it, right? As entrepreneurs.
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the, although I got into entrepreneurship early and it was kind of by accident, I do realize it was for me. It suits the way I like to live, the pace I like to keep. And I get energy from the fact that entrepreneurship is life without a net. Like the challenge of me knowing that if I don't make this happen, all the things I have in my life are going to fall apart. Like that actually juices me. I'm like that. I'm like, all right, well, we're going to make that happen. Right. And so it is motivation for me. And so and it's not for everybody. And it's, only, what is it? About 1 in 15 people are entrepreneurs. Only 1 in 600 will ever make it to $1 million or more. Only 1 in 6,000 will make it to 10 million or more. So it's not for everybody. 14 out of 15 people work for somebody else and for a reason, and so yeah, I mean, it was I was blessed a bit early on that I was maybe nudged in the direction I really needed to go anyway. But I've enjoyed the ride for sure.
And I love you mentioning, like, you're one of 10 kids, and you basically had to fight throughout childhood to get what you wanted. And that right there means survival at its fittest, right? Like, it's the dog eat dog world that we're living in the US, in Canada, in Australia, in Europe.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be a business owner. Everyone sees headlines of ultra successful people.
They all think they want it.
They all think, but they don't really understand what's going on
exactly
behind their life. And do they really want to live it? Because there's a lot of endless nights, no sleeping, travel away from family, a lot of hard speaking events, like a lot of work is involved.
There's no doubt. It is the most energy. It's the most energy you will expend in your life is this. And if you don't like it, it'll drain you quick. If you love it, it'll feed you quick. It is hard to manage the balance. I mean, that's what I spend a lot of my time on with my clients who are all CEOs. So it's hard to manage that. But boy, when you do, it's quite a rewarding path, because you can have as much impact as you want. You can help as many people as you want. You can do the work you like as much as you want. You can make the money that you want. I mean, so.
That's awesome. I mean, I really enjoyed our conversation, Carl. If there is one final note, if for all the listeners that are looking or are early stages of the business, what would you advise them to do? Or if there's a skill set that they don't currently possess, what would you go out and ask them to start learning and start working on? Because these business owners, especially the younger ones, the ones that are in their early 20s, don't have a lot of life experience. They don't really understand what it takes to be successful in whatever success means to them. What would you advise them?
I would advise them to take a class in selling, follow that up by a class in marketing, but really understand how to articulate what they do and build the communication skills, because selling is similar to coaching, which is similar to mentoring, which is similar to negotiation. They're all tools of influence. And to be a successful business owner, you have to be able to explain to another person what you do well and how you can benefit them by your collaboration. So you have to have those skills. You can say, well, I'll just hire it. All right, well, you have an endless bucket of money, then go ahead and hire it. But before you hire those people, you got to explain what the hell you're doing. So if you're getting started out, I would say go take a class in selling.
I love you ending that with the sales acumen of a skill set that a lot of people don't even consider as an art. But I love that, Carl. Thank you so much. For all the listeners that don't know, don't have your social handles, like where can they find you, reach out to you if they have any questions, or check out your advisory firm?
Sure. Well, you can check me out at carlgould.com. Our advisory firm is 7 stageadvisors.com. So 7stageadvisors.com. My personal website, if you want to hit me up, is carl360.com.
Amazing. And for all the listeners that don't know who your ideal type of client that you seek out, who are they? And what's your profile? Like, who do you typically like servicing, and what do they look like?
So I'm looking for business owners who are growth minded, looking to grow, either double their business or grow by $1 million a year or more. We are industry agnostic. We work in all industries, and that helps us because we understand what's innovative in one industry, and we can pick that up and we can drop it in your business, because the innovation in an industry comes from the front lines of another industry. It doesn't come from within the industry. You need somebody outside the industry to help you innovate. And so that's what we do. And so we're looking for that growth-minded business owner, because that's a different set of activities we're going to recommend to you than if you're not growth-minded. If you're just looking to stabilize, that's good. But we're looking for somebody who's looking to grow their business. Amazing.
Well, thank you, Carl. I had such a great time conversing with you. You dropped some great nuggets there. So I really want to appreciate and thank you for your time, your precious moments and great wisdom that you dropped here. But we'll stay in touch. If you're ever in Toronto, Canada, I'm Canadian, reach out to me and we'll have a great time. Thank you so much.
For sure. Thanks for having me.